drivers love it as much, but I definitely do. So if you guys are wondering, this is about face height right now. We are pretty much in the mirror. So yeah, it's definitely a whole lot higher than it used to be with our awesome new Rough Country suspension with our Vertex coilovers. Let's go take this thing for a drive. And I absolutely love the amp steps. Makes it so much easier to get into this thing. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hammerdown Motorsports. Here we are in the Rebel with the new suspension. And if you guys saw the last video, you know we did a 6-inch Rough Country suspension on this truck with the Vertex coilovers. And well, it's a total new world for this truck, let me tell you. Cruising around in this thing, you feel so much more planted. It doesn't have the sway. I don't know if you guys noticed, if you've ever driven just a regular Ram truck and then drove the Rebel with the 18s and the Duratrax, and you do get a little bit more movement. It's somewhat what to do with the tires, some of it's to do with suspension tuning and all that kind of stuff. And my phone is not muted, so let's do that. Let's do that right away. All right. Okay, phone muted. So the stock Rebel compared to the Laramie Sport that I had, definitely you feel it in the corners a lot. And I did go to a 20-inch wheel setup on this truck because we went to a 35-inch tire, and I just thought proportionally we get a little bit more rim and you get a little bit more of the detail on the wheels, all that kind of thing. So I just felt that that was the right thing to do. And so far it's worked out pretty well. The only thing I've really noticed with this setup, and it's a lot more to do with my tire setup than it is to do with suspension, is it does definitely, it's a lot stiffer than the regular suspension was. Like it's so much more heavy duty, the big springs and all that kind of stuff. You do have that adjustability with the shocks, so you can control your dampening and all that. But when I first put it in, I mean, obviously things need to break in slightly before it is going to be exactly the way it's going to be, you know, down the road, because obviously when you buy a new car, it's not exactly the same as when you've driven it for 10,000 miles. So with the new springs in the back, everything was really fresh. I took it to the beach, and I did notice that it was a little bumpy in the back, and I was just kind of wondering what I needed to do to adjust that. But after I've been driving, even just the last few days, I've really either gotten used to it more, or it's just kind of settled in, and now it's starting to feel a little bit more normal. And I did adjust our shocks a little bit. I did have them, I think I had them at level 6 in the rear, and I think I had it at level 4 or 5 in the front. So since then, I've actually lowered the front and the rear, so it's got a little bit more, I guess, less dampening, so it's a little bit softer, and then we can kind of just go over the bumps and not really have too many issues. I did also have a high tire pressure, so I was running like over 50 psi in the rear, and I think I had 48 in the front. So yeah, when you hit the bumps on the highway and all that kind of stuff, it did resonate through a little bit more. So because of that, also we're running a 20-inch tire, so we don't have as much sidewall, but we still have a fair amount of meat on the side here. So I mean, it's just kind of that game you got to play and kind of get everything situated the way you want it to. But we've been on the beach once already with it, and I just kind of adjusted things slightly with that as well. And right now I think we're running a 3 in the front and a 5 or 6 in the rear. I'd have to double check, but just kind of fine-tuning things and just seeing how everything feels for the day-to-day drive. From what I hear, if you're going to tow, you can crank up the rear to, I believe, 8 is the highest setting, and then you can really stiffen up that rear and not have this thing, well, I'm really gonna have to try this myself, but from factory, this thing sags out so bad, so having those big springs in the rear should definitely help out a whole lot. So now we do have 35s on the truck, and I absolutely love the KO2s, and with the 3.5-inch lift, they were perfect. It definitely was pushing the limits on how much room we had to turn. I did have to do some trimming and all that to make them all work, but now we've got lots of real estate. I even put the front mud flaps back on, and we've got tons of room. So I'm kind of at a crossroads for maybe the future of tires. Right now I really want to keep these on, and we're going to be playing with them in the dirt and mud and all that kind of stuff. But for the future, or maybe if this is a thought that you're having, if you're going to take a stock Rebel and then you're going to put this lift kit on, what are you going to choose for a tire size? Well, you can fit a 37. I'm not entirely sure if you'll have to trim or not, but I'm already trimmed, so it may not be an issue for me to put 37s on this thing, and it may fill up those wheel wells a little bit more and obviously give you a little bit more lift, because when you do have that bigger lift, it is always to accommodate a bigger tire, and that's where you actually get your real lift from. So that being said, should we put a 37 on this thing? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's a good and bad about that, and the good would be obviously the look and just kind of the ground clearance altogether. The bad would be, while you have that much more rotating mass, you're probably going to get poorer fuel economy, and it's already 13.4, and there's a lot of highway in there, so it's not the greatest already. So we're going to have less fuel economy, more rotating mass, potentially more wear on ball joints and suspension components, because now we're running our factory upper control arm again. So I mean, there's that to consider. So I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to see. What would you put on your truck with this same suspension, a 35 or a 37? So here is a view from the driver. You can definitely see how this thing towers over all the other cars. Look at this little Hyundai in front of us. I mean, I'm pretty far away already, and you can it's almost starting to disappear in that hood. So I mean, yeah, you definitely have a little bit of lift up here, and I absolutely love it. The presence on the road on this thing is amazing. It breaks necks everywhere you go. People are just kind of like, wow, is that a TRX? Well, it's not a TRX, but we spent a whole lot less money, and we can actually get one of these, so there's that. And honestly, for your average person who is going out to buy a TRX that's that much money, I mean, I get it. They're awesome. They are just not exactly what I want to spend for what I'm trying to do. I have this truck. This truck has been great for the channel. It's been awesome to do the mods on and everything like that. So we're gonna take a couple things out of the parts bin on the TRX, and we're gonna try to spruce up the Rebel a little bit. And at the end of the day, I mean, could I have probably bought a base model TRX for everything that was put into this truck? Probably, but that wasn't really the kind of whole process that I wanted to go through. And not to mention, I had this truck in 2019 and you had to wait till 2021 to get the TRX, so there would have been a whole lifetime of stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do in the meantime. So we were here to do it and have fun, and you guys got to see all the different things that we got to do to this truck so far, and I've enjoyed making the videos. This truck has definitely transformed a lot, and you definitely have a couple more things coming. So there's never really an end to the project, I guess, until we get to the point where, I don't know, maybe it's too much, but I don't think we've gotten there yet. There's more to come, and I'm very excited to share that with you guys. But who knows, maybe we'll get some 37s one day. I really do like the BF Goodrich Baja TAs, the ones that, if you guys watch Stradman, he has them on the 6x6 Jeep. I think the red, white, and blue lettering and all that would just be pretty awesome on this thing. But I don't know, drop in the comments, what do you guys think? So for those of you who want to buy a lift kit for your Rebel and daily drive it, you do not have to worry about really any kind of drivability things. Like, it doesn't drive any differently than it did from the factory, other than the fact that you now have all that extra gear in here to make you a little bit higher up, and you can run a bigger tire, which is gonna drive a little bit different, but you can let go of the wheel, the thing goes straight, it doesn't vibrate, you don't have any kind of steering issues, there's no clunks or bumps or any kind of thing like that. So this has really worked out well, and it definitely has a factory feel, and that's something that I really was looking for. I didn't want to go with just another spacer, although if you don't want to opt for the coilovers and you don't really need a coilover, the spacer that goes on top of your strut works just fine. It's just kind of extends what you already have, but with the coilover setup, obviously that is ideal, because then you can have that longer spring and all that kind of stuff. But there's definitely options out there for everybody. You can go with a smaller spacer lift, you can go with the 6-inch with the spacer on top of your stock suspension, or you can go full out like we did here and get the coilover setup. And honestly, if you got the extra coin, I would go for the full system, because this system is absolutely awesome. All right, so I've been trying to find some rougher roads for you guys to see how this thing handles, and I did find some washed out road here. Let's go over it. We're doing like 15. And you can see, like, you definitely feel a bump, but it's not sharp. It's not, before it would like, literally you'd hear stuff in the dash moving around because the springs were so tight, just how that setup was with the SST lift. And now with our new shocks and our new whole Rough Country setup, this thing soaks it up so well. I mean, I feel like I'm driving a Raptor. All right, so it is 2021 and things have changed a little bit for the Ram Rebel. I think the TRX helped this one along a little bit because, as everybody who follows along with TRX knows, you get everything that you would have wished for in a Rebel now in the TRX. You get the Raptor suspension, basically, or better than Raptor suspension, the reinforced frame. You get all the goodies for Baja in the desert. And you also get heated and cooled front seats, heated rear seats, probably reclining rear seats. I'm not entirely sure on that one. You get the 360 camera, and there's probably a few things I'm missing. Well, obviously the supercharged engine, but Rebel got a few of those options trickle down to it now in the 2021 model. From what I understand, you can get the heads-up display now, you can get the 360 camera, you can get the cooled front seats, which would be really nice, especially when it's 86 degrees right now and it's still only springtime, and yeah, I'm just gonna have to live without them. But if you are buying a Rebel now in 2021, it is a very good time for you as far as options go, because you can get all those things that we really wanted in the 19 and 20 models. And now, since TRX, I think, made it possible, they are like, oh, we can just kind of slide the stuff over to Rebel. So that's a good thing for the guys that are buying them now. So if you're getting one now and you're getting all those things, you're very lucky, because, well, after all I've done to this truck, I'm not trading it in on a new one, because then I would have to do it all over again. But all in all, nice to have things, not need to have things. And, well, we're getting some of those options on the Bronco, well, the 360 cam anyway. So I'm excited for that. For off-roading purposes, the cameras would be really nice. I have looked into just kind of making something work with cameras in here, but then you got to mount a screen, and I just don't know if that's something that I want to do. I would really like to interface it into the infotainment system, and there was a couple of leads I had in the past about that, but then nothing really materialized. So here we are. I have a camera and no way to plug it into the big screen. So that's just kind of where we're at. So if you're buying a Rebel in 2021, lucky you for the options, probably not lucky you for COVID prices, because things have definitely gone crazy with the car market. But that is what it is, and that's where we are right now. So Rough Country suspension, definitely happy with it. Very, very excited to try out more off-road kind of things with it and just see how it all performs. The CV axle in the front, I still may change that driver's front. I mean, it didn't seem terrible, but there is a tiny little bit of play in it, and I'm not really all that thrilled about that. That is because I stretched it out too far with a 3.5-inch SST lift that wasn't supposed to be on the truck in the first place, which we all know. But we live and learn, and that's just how it's gonna go. So we're very happy to be going into summertime, and let's go play with this thing, have some fun. I hope you guys are doing well. I really appreciate you guys watching the videos and supporting the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and as always, keep that hammer down.